Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine waking up, right? Not to the usual sounds of Earth, but to this almost eerie quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only American on this, colossal laboratory orbiting hundreds of miles above the planet.
Yeah, that's the immediate reality our source material really throws us into. It's a personal account. Someone working on the International Space Station.
Exactly. Forget the breathtaking photos of Earth from above for just a moment. Today, we're really diving deep into the real texture of daily life up there.
The unexpected hurdles, even those moments where survival itself kind of hangs in the balance.
And what's fascinating, I think, right from the start is how intimate this perspective is.
Definitely. We're getting a first-hand look at this period where our narrator is the sole U.S. crew member.
Which must change things quite a bit.
Well, yeah, it strips away the usual dynamics of a bigger team, doesn't it? It throws the individual's interactions with the environment and the whole international collaboration thing into really sharp relief.
Okay, so our mission today is to truly understand what it's like up there based on these firsthand experiences.
Right.
We're going to explore the nuances of being alone in such an extreme place, the vital threads of human connection that, persist.
And the sometimes, unglamorous but crucial science and self-care routines.
Yeah, we'll get into those. Plus the physical demands of just exercising in zero-G.
And as you'll hear, a moment where the danger becomes terrifyingly real.
And if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, this personal account,
Yeah.
It offers really invaluable insights, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Into both the practicalities and the psychological impact of long-duration spaceflight.
Which is becoming more and more important.
Especially as we look towards future missions, venturing even further from Earth.
Okay, so let's begin with that experience of solitude. Initially being the only U.S. crew member, it might almost sound appealing. A bit of peace and quiet, maybe?
Yeah, our narrator mentions enjoying that initial calm, the privacy, being able to listen to music, even having CNN on in the background.
Yeah, that seems like a natural first reaction, I guess.
Sure. After maybe constant close quarters with a crew, a period of solitude could be a welcome change. Having that uninterrupted time, the ability to, indulge personal preferences like music.
Those become significant comforts in that environment, I bet.
But how quickly do you think that novelty wears off? I mean, when that fundamental need for just basic human interaction isn't being met, especially in a place that's already high stress.
Well, the source text reveals that the peace doesn't last that long. There's this longing for just spontaneous chats, the ability to just bounce ideas off someone or even just share the burden of the workload.
And practically speaking, sometimes you just need another pair of hands. Simple as that.
Right. And this highlights a core element of teamwork, even among these incredibly skilled professionals.
Yeah, it's not solely about task division. It's also about that informal support, the collaborative problem solving that just naturally happens when colleagues are nearby.
And it wasn't as simple as just, asking the Russian cosmonauts for help either.
Right. There are these interagency agreements in place that add this whole other layer of complexity.
It's not like borrowing a wrench from the guy in the next lab.
Exactly. There are protocols involved.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the intricate political and logistical framework that underpins the ISS.
Even squished together up there.
Even within the close physical confines of the station. Yeah. National protocols, resource allocation, they play a huge role in the day-to-day interactions and just the ability to get things done.
But despite that potential for isolation, that fundamental human need for connection, it really shines through.
It does.
There's this really touching moment when our narrator describes Gennady's birthday dinner. It's clearly more than just a formality. There's this genuine sharing of personal stories about their kids.
Yeah, reflections on career sacrifices, the time missed with family, the shared anticipation of eventually getting home.
It underscores those universal human experiences, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They transcend nationality, even the extreme context of space.
Absolutely. Parenthood, career paths with their trade-offs, these things create powerful bonds. They foster a sense of camaraderie, even in this high-stakes international setting.
And I imagine in such an isolated place, those shared future milestones, like going home, probably take on even greater psychological weight.
Definitely, like anchors during a really demanding experience.
And then there's that unexpected email from the ex-wife, Leslie.
Oh, right.
And it wasn't about conflict or anything like that. It was about their daughter, Charlotte, doing something incredibly kind at school.
Choosing a classmate with developmental challenges for her team, right?
Yeah, and the emotional impact on our narrator. It's profound. He describes feeling closer to Earth and farther away at the same time.
Wow. That's a powerful illustration, isn't it? How events on Earth, even seemingly small ones, can resonate so deeply for someone so physically removed.
It highlights the strength of family ties, I guess.
And the bittersweet nature of being separated from loved ones during the significant life moments, good and, well, challenging ones too.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to maybe a less glamorous aspect of space life. The necessary science and self-care routines.
Yes, practicalities.
The detailed description of collecting a urine sample is, well, it's certainly vivid.
Yes.
The specialized collection bag with a condom adapter, the mesh bandages to ensure a seal, needing to apply just the right amount of pressure.
And, of course, the mention of the inevitable small leak and the subsequent globules of urine floating in the air.
It really brings home the practical challenges, doesn't it? Even for the most basic bodily functions in microgravity.
It's a stark reminder that everything we take for granted on Earth requires specific, often complex procedures and equipment up there.
And the potential for things to not go quite right is always there.
Always. This detailed procedure also underscores the ingenuity required, adapting even the most fundamental human needs to space. It highlights how gravity is this silent partner in our everyday lives down here.
And then the blood draw, initially feeling confident, but then needing Gennadi's help after the first attempt to find a vein fails.
Which happens, even to trained people.
Sure. Followed by this almost comical, yet slightly unsettling image of blood escaping in 0G, forming these distinct crimson spheres.
It's a testament to the rigorous training and adaptability of astronauts that they can perform these medical procedures on themselves and each other.
Definitely.
But the account also underscores the inherent difficulties and that reliance on teamwork, even among highly skilled individuals.
And the floating blood is just such a potent visual reminder of the completely different physics at play.
Absolutely.
What's also striking is how routine these sample collections are every few weeks, apparently.
This isn't some one-off experiment.
No, it's an ongoing process. Gathering scientific data, continuously monitoring the astronauts' physiological responses to space.
And it underscores the incredibly rigorous scientific protocols that are in place, meticulously tracking and understanding the long-term effects of spaceflight on the human body.
These seemingly mundane tasks are absolutely crucial for advancing our knowledge in this critical field.
Couldn't do it without them.
Then there's the infected ingrown toenail. Something so commonplace back on Earth, right? But in space, where your feet are apparently essential for anchoring yourself, maintaining stability.
Yeah, you use footholds and restraints constantly.
So it becomes a genuine concern, relying on topical antibiotics and just hoping it doesn't escalate to a point where it actually hinders functionality.
It perfectly illustrates how even minor health issues can be significantly amplified in the space environment.
Right.
The body's usual healing processes, the practicalities of administering treatment, they can all be affected by microgravity. So you have to carefully monitor and manage even seemingly trivial ailments.
On a slightly more positive note, though, the narrator mentions experiencing relief from headaches and congestion.
Ah, the CO2 levels.
Exactly. Lower CO2 levels, a direct result of being the only person exhaling in the U.S. segment. A bit of an unexpected silver lining to the solitude, maybe?
Perhaps. Although there's also that concern that the issue will just resurface once the next crew arrives.
Right. Which points to the ongoing engineering challenges.
It's a fascinating example of how the unique atmosphere inside the ISS can have these unanticipated effects on the crew's physiology and well-being. But yeah, the anticipation of the problem returning highlights those constant engineering and environmental control challenges. Keeping a space station consistently habitable is hard work.
Okay, let's move on to the demands of exercise, which, as the source makes clear, isn't just recommended.
No, it's absolutely mandatory, part of the job description.
Counteracting that significant, 1% bone mass loss per month in microgravity.
That's right. 1% per month, it's critical. And the long-term consequences of not adhering to the exercise regime, like a substantially increased risk of hip fracture later in life, they're serious.
It really underscores the profound physiological challenges that come with long-duration spaceflight.
Definitely. The absence of gravity has dramatic, detrimental effects on the musculoskeletal system.
Yeah.
So a rigorous, consistently followed exercise program is just a non-negotiable countermeasure.
And the workout environment itself sounds less than inspiring.
Yeah, the PMM, the Permanent Multipurpose Module.
Our narrator describes it as resembling a dark, somewhat dingy closet.
And the ever-present odor of workout clothes because, well, laundry isn't an option up there.
Right. And then the treadmill mounted vertically on the wall.
Requiring that complex harness system just to stay in place while you run.
Even adjusting your perceived body weight with the harness has its limits.
The whole description paints a very realistic picture, I think, of the practicalities of trying to exercise effectively in microgravity.
Yeah.
It's clearly not some glamorous gym setup.
Right.
And the equipment has to be specifically engineered not just to function in zero-G, but also to prevent damage to the station itself.
Ah, right, the vibrations.
Exactly. Hence the need for that vibration isolation system. It was crucial for preventing the treadmill's vibrations from affecting delicate scientific instruments. And interestingly, the need for that kind of system was really highlighted during earlier space station experiences, like back on Mir.
Our narrator even finds a way to stave off the boredom during these intense workouts, though.
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, watching Game of Thrones, even if it's for the second time.
It's a reminder, isn't it? Even in this extraordinary demanding environment, there's still that fundamental human need for small comforts, for distractions.
Absolutely. It speaks directly to that need for normalcy, maybe even a sense of escapism when you're faced with such extraordinary circumstances.
Entertainment can be a surprisingly vital tool for maintaining morale, overall psychological well-being during these long, physically demanding missions.
That the exercise definitely takes a physical toll. Our narrator mentions experiencing joint pain.
Not surprising given the intensity and the unnatural posture sometimes required.
And then there's that unexpected encounter with Gennady and the rather unfortunately named shit cans.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Yes, resulting in a cloud of toxic gas.
Thankfully, the station's air filtration system handles it swiftly.
Yeah.
You
can almost sense Gennady's weary exasperation in his muttered comment about needing a vacation.
Yeah. These moments, they inject a bit of dark humor, maybe.
They do, but they also underscore the incredibly close quarters and the potential for unexpected hazards within that confined environment.
Makes you appreciate the life support systems.
Absolutely critical. Their reliability and effectiveness are paramount, and this incident certainly highlights their importance.
And then there's this palpable shift in the tone of the narrative.
Yeah, things get serious.
The announcement, Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. We are privatizing the Space to Ground channel. The flight director needs to speak to you.
Yelling.
Those words, as our narrator recounts, are enough to make any astronaut's blood run cold. They're almost always associated with serious, potentially bad news.
It immediately elevates the stakes dramatically. Privatizing the channel signifies an urgent, potentially critical situation, demanding the crew's complete, undivided attention. Cuts off all routine comms.
And the narrator's past experiences with similar announcements only amplify that palpable sense of foreboding.
You know something major is coming.
The threat turns out to be a red late notice conjunction, a predicted near miss.
Near miss being the operative term.
With an old Russian satellite, and the potential collision is within this 1 kilometer sphere of uncertainty.
Which sounds big, but in space terms, at orbital speeds, it's terrifyingly close.
And the relative closing velocity, a terrifying 14 kilometers per second.
Which is roughly,
Yeah.
35,000 miles per hour?
Something like that. Just the mind-boggling speed.
The sheer speed involved is almost incomprehensible. To put it into perspective, that's many, many times faster than a bullet.
Wow.
The amount of kinetic energy involved in a collision like that would be immense. Truly catastrophic risk to the station structure and, of course, to the crew's lives.
And because of the extremely short notice, a P-dam that's a predetermined debris avoidance maneuver, a planned course correction, it just isn't feasible.
No time.
So mission controls instructions are direct, stark, close, and double-check all the hatches on the U.S. segment.
Training kicks in immediately. Priority is speed, following protocol.
This harrowing situation just underscores the constant vigilance required in low Earth orbit. Space is increasingly filled with debris.
It is. And while sophisticated tracking systems are in place, these unexpected conjunctions can and do occur. They demand rapid assessment, immediate adherence to those well-rehearsed emergency protocols.
And then, amidst this potential life-threatening crisis, comes this almost unbelievable request.
That's part. Yeah.
A public affairs event with a news station back in Louisville, Kentucky to talk about the Kentucky Derby.
You could just feel the astronauts' sheer disbelief, their utter frustration, right? It's palpable in the account.
This jarring juxtaposition, it really brings home the multifaceted, sometimes conflicting demands placed on astronauts.
Balancing critical science, essential PR, And, oh yeah, facing down life-threatening emergencies.
It reveals a truly staggering disconnect, doesn't it, between the priorities on the ground and the immediate life-or-death realities faced by the crew in orbit.
Absolutely. It underscores those complex, often competing demands, even in the most extreme circumstances. The perceived triviality of discussing a horse race when you might be about to get hit by space junk, it's stark.
The contrast in how the U.S. and Russian crews respond is also quite telling.
It is. The U.S. protocol dictates preparing for a potential breach, sealing the hatches.
While the Russian cosmonauts apparently decide it's lunchtime.
Yeah. It's an interesting cultural difference, perhaps, in approaching high-stress situations.
The U.S. protocol seems to emphasize proactive preparation, containment of potential damage.
Whereas the Russian approach appears, maybe, to favor maintaining a sense of normalcy. Perhaps a degree of acceptance regarding the potential outcome. Hard to say exactly.
Our narrator then describes gathering essential items for a potential emergency evacuation to the Soyuz spacecraft.
The lifeboat.
The defibrillator, a medical kit, emergency procedures on an iPad, even an iPod, and some personal mementos. And crucially, precious photos and videos.
That moment of preparing for a rapid evacuation really underscores the sheer gravity of the situation.
For sure.
The carefully selected items reflect that focus on immediate survival needs, but also the preservation of irreplaceable personal memories.
They then make their way to the Soyuz, finding it cramped, cold, and surprisingly loud.
Which highlights its primary role, right? It's a temporary lifeboat designed for essential function over extended comfort or habitation.
The conversation inside the Soyuz is brief, but carries immense weight. Just a shared, unspoken acknowledgement of the very real danger they're facing. And then the anticlimactic passing of the debris, the almost unbearable tension just slowly dissipating into profound relief.
That intense buildup of tension, followed by the sudden return to relative normalcy. It's a common psychological experience in high-risk environments.
Must have been draining.
The feeling of relief must have been immense, although that underlying awareness of just how close they came to disaster probably lingers for a long time.
Reflecting on what could have happened, our narrator emphasizes the almost unimaginable speed, the potential scale of destruction.
Compares it to an aircraft crashing at 70 times the speed.
Yeah, suggesting they likely wouldn't have even been aware of the impact because the velocity was just so high.
Even comparing the potential energy release to that of a small nuclear weapon, it's a truly sobering thought.
It really is. This stark reflection underscores the immense forces at play in orbital mechanics.
And the potentially instantaneous, utterly devastating consequences of any high-velocity collision in space. It highlights the inherent, ever-present dangers of operating in that unforgiving environment beyond Earth's atmosphere.
Finally, looking ahead, there's the upcoming arrival of a new crew in just 11 days.
Right.
Which is a milestone that marks the completion of only the first quarter of their long mission.
Puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of the extended duration of these expeditions, the sustained periods of isolation and potential risk involved.
And it provides that crucial sense of the mission's overall timeline, the significant psychological endurance required to live and work in such an extreme environment for so long.
The impending arrival of a new crew signifies a transition, a welcome change, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it also reinforces the long-haul nature of these demanding missions.
So as we conclude this deep dive, what are the key insights that really resonate? We've explored these stark, often surprising realities of daily life on the ISS.
That profound sense of solitude existing right alongside essential, even life-saving international collaboration.
The sometimes mundane scientific and self-care procedures, punctuated by moments of intense personal connection.
And even terrifying, life-threatening danger.
You've hopefully gained a deeper understanding of how the human body adapts and struggles in the alien environment of space.
And that sometimes jarring disconnect between priorities and perspectives on the ground versus the immediate challenges faced by those living and working hundreds of miles above us.
This remarkable account truly highlights the incredible resilience, the adaptability of the human spirit when confronted with these extraordinary challenges.
It really does. It also raises that fundamental question, doesn't it, about the delicate balance between humanity's relentless pursuit of knowledge and exploration.
And the very real, often substantial risks inherent in pushing the boundaries of our capabilities.
Exactly.
And on that profound note, we leave you with this thought. Considering the significant level of risk, the extraordinary dedication required, what does this intimate glimpse into daily life aboard the International Space Station truly tell you about the fundamental human drive for exploration and maybe the ultimate limits of our resilience.
What specific aspects of long-duration spaceflight sparked your curiosity the most after hearing this? What lingering questions did this deep dive raise for you?
We encourage you to share your thoughts. We're always eager to